Greetings. Thanks for joining us in this class today. We're discussing on values. That which you value values you back. That which you focuses on eventually focuses back on you and produces expected results. What you keep inspecting and keep observing and keep paying attention to eventually turns around and rewards you. So we need to establish values and then focus on that. I begin by a thought. And the thought is, when you come to your deathbed, it is not the things that you did in life that you will regret about. Rather, it is those things that you didn't get to do. What you've done, what you've accomplished, what you've achieved, what you've amassed will be inconsequential. What will be crucial is those things you didn't get to do, those things you didn't get time for. There are three questions that will emerge at that time of exit. The questions will be, did I live? Did I love? And did I matter? Regardless of your accomplishments, regardless of what you shall have amassed, the question will be, did you live? Did you maximize on yourself? Did you maximize on your giftings? Did you maximize on your time? The question will be, did you love those who are close to you, your family and your friends? Did you love them enough? Did you give them enough time? And of course, did you matter? Did you make any significant input in the life of someone? Did you make a difference? Those will be the questions that matter when it's time to depart from this life. And that's why it becomes important that we define values, we establish values, we build our lives around values and pursue those so that when our time is over, we can answer the three questions in the affirmative. Yes, I did all I could do. I loved as much as I could. I lived as much as I could, and indeed I mattered. I made a difference. Speaking of focusing on values, the Bible says in Proverbs chapter 4, verse number 25, it says, let your eyes look straight ahead. I love that. Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. In other words, do not be distracted. Do not lose focus. Do not be swayed. Regardless of what you're going through, let your eyes look straight ahead. Let your eyes be on your vision. Let your life be guided by some values that you are willing to pursue no matter what. So fix your gaze directly before you. If you have some values that are pillars in your life, then you can fix your gaze on those values. Somebody might ask, but Pastor, what do we mean when we say value? It's a great question. When we speak of value, value can be defined as relative worth. See, what is worth to you may not be worth to me. So value is relative worth. It's relative to the end user. Value is the degree of importance to which we attach something. The degree of importance. Value may also be defined as the desirability of a product, a thing, a person, a service, or something. How much you desire of it, how much it matters to you, how much importance you attach to it. That's what we mean by value. Now, what you value values you back. What you focuses on ends up focusing on you. What you pay attention to eventually pays attention to you. What do I mean? Let me give you an example. If you value your relationships, you pay attention to them, you nurture them, you feed into your relationships, guess what? Your friends will respect you. Why? Because you value that connection, you value that relationship. If you value keeping fit, then exercising, running, jogging, and all that will improve on your physical appearance and probably even your health. But if you don't value keeping fit, if you don't value exercising, if you don't value running or jogging, guess what? You might be out of shape and develop some health issues. What you value values you back. If you value education, for example, then knowledge will give you advantage in opportunities ahead. If you value your job will reward you with a good pay, probably with promotion and increase of different kinds. If you value your job, then it's likely you will pay attention to your job. You will work hard. You will be diligent in your business. And your business in return may give you margins, may give you profits. So what you value values you back. Even God, when we value His word in return gives us insight. It grants us revelation. Speaking of God valuing us, valuing God, and God valuing us, it's a very scriptural principle. The Bible says, for instance, in 1 Samuel chapter 2 and verse number 30, the B part of it, the Lord speaks and He says, "But I will honor those who honor me, and I will despise those who think lightly of me." That is God speaking. And He says through His prophet, He says, look, those who honor me, those who value me, I will value, I will honor them. Those who do not value me, those who dishonor me, I will have them esteemed lightly. They won't be taken seriously. They won't matter. Jesus put it in a different way. He said, "Seek ye first my kingdom, and its righteousness, and then all these other things will be added unto you." What was He saying? He was saying, if you value my kingdom will in turn reward you. My kingdom will add on to your bosom these things that men seek. It will add you health. It will add you wealth. It will add you riches. It will add you a good name. So seek first my kingdom. Those who honor me, I will honor. And those who esteem me lightly or despise me, I'll have them devalued, God said. We also see the same understanding as we cruise through the book of Proverbs. The Bible says in Proverbs chapter 8 and verse number 17, I love this because this is wisdom personified. And we know in the book of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes that wisdom is the person of Jesus Christ. So in Proverbs 8 verse 17, wisdom is personified, and wisdom speaks as follows. He says, I love those who love me. I value those who value me. And he says, and those who seek me diligently will find me. Meaning, those who are not diligent to seek me will not find me. So this principle is scriptural much as it is universal. Seek first the kingdom will reward you. Seek for wisdom, you will find it, and wisdom will reward you. Honor God and seek Him and His righteousness, and God will honor you and bless you with riches and stuff. So the question then is, beginning with our own selves, what is your unique value? As an individual, before we go seeking value, before we go pursuing and focusing on value, what is your unique value? In other words, what value do you bring to the table? In your circle, in your sphere of influence, in the family, in the church, in the community, what unique skills do you bring to the table? What's your edge? What advantage do you bring? What do you carry? As we start, as a foundation, what do you bring to the table? What values do you bring to the table? Meaning we need to evaluate ourselves and see what are we bringing as a start. What are we bringing to the table? What are you bringing to the world? Let me put it this way. What is your value proposition? Value proposition speaks of the problem you are here to solve. What problem are you here to solve? Or what needs are you here to meet? You see, in every circle of friendship, in every sphere of influence, you are there not just as a consumer, but as a producer. You are there to make a difference. You are there to impact lives. You are there to give. So as you come into people's spheres, as you come into my circle, what is your value proposition? What are you bringing to the table? That's why we are asking, what's your value? What edge do you bring? What advantage are you adding? And you see, you can't add value to people if you don't have no values yourself. So you got to define your values. You got to take stock and observe, what do I bring to the table? And that's not the end in and of itself. As you evaluate yourself and define your values, you need to keep developing yourself. You need to keep shaping yourself. You need to keep growing yourself. Increase yourself in value so you can be profitable to others. Now, let me give you a tool you can use in evaluating your own personal values. Here is a lens you can use to self-examine. There are 3 sets of values that I would encourage you to use as you self-evaluate. Number 1, character values. Character values. What are character values? Character values are values that you need to exist as a good human being. In other words, you don't need to be necessarily born again, a church person. No. Anybody on the face of the world, anybody on this globe needs these, we are calling character values. These are core characteristics that people will look for as they evaluate how a good match you are in their circle, how well you fit in their lives. Things such as commitment. How committed are you? How committed are you to your word, to your promises? Things like positivity, positive attitude. Positive attitude always attracts. If that's a character value in you, well, you'll attract others. Things like respect. Do you respect yourself and do you respect others? So these are character values. As you examine your own values, you need to check, what are my character values? Number 2, work values. Work values. These are different from character values. Work values are values that gives you satisfaction and make you efficient and productive in your job. Values such as diligence, timeliness, tidiness, excellence, passion. These are work values. So as you self-examine, you need to evaluate and ask, what are my virtues? What are my character values? Number 2, what are my work values? Some people don't have work values such as diligence or timeliness. They are always late. Whether it's a church service, whether it's job or a party they're attending, they're always late. Timeliness is not a value. What they have is a vice known as tardiness or always being late. The third set of values are what we call personal values. Personal values. So what are personal values? Personal values are guiding principles of your life. These are principles that are basic or fundamental and can't be moved or shaken no matter what. Values such as faith. I am a man of faith. And because of my faith, there are things I can't move. There are deals I can't cut. There are shortcuts I won't take. My faith won't allow me. There are foods you won't eat based on your faith. Values such as family. That because I value my family, I would rather forego that job, that opportunity, that trip. I would rather forego an extra shift. I won't take I would rather forego those bonuses for the sake of my family, so I can spend time with my children, so I can spend time with my spouse. Those are personal values. Values such as productivity, that I love to be, I'm not lazy, I'm not sluggish, I'm not a sluggard. I love to work with my hands and my brain and to produce for myself. That's a value. That you don't depend on handouts, that you are not a beggar or beggarly. You have the value of productivity. And even if it would mean you working with your hands and getting yourself dirty with a job that doesn't pay well, but so long as it's a job that put food on the table for you, you value it, you enjoy productivity. That's a personal value. So this is the tool you use to self-evaluate and ask yourself, where am I on character value? Where am I on work values? Where am I on personal values? And then you focus, you put your gaze on those values. If you don't have them, you try to cultivate them. So again, let me ask you, what do you value as an individual? As a father, as a spouse, as a husband, as a wife, as a son, as a daughter, as a church member, as a businessman, what do you value? You see, your values determine your choices. Your values determine your priorities. Your values determine how you spend your resources, how you spend your time, how you spend your money, how you spend everything you have. Your values determine that. Secondly, you invest in what you value. So if you value family, you invest in family. If you value business, then you'll spend all your time in business. If you value sports, then you will spend all your money buying game tickets and stuff to do with games. If you don't value something, then you don't pay attention to it. You have no interest in it. You don't value it. So whatever you truly value is reflected in your actions. Whatever you truly value. Take for instance, you value a football team. You are a fan. You are in it. You value it. You know what you end up doing? You buy a jersey for your team. You buy a cape for your team. You support, you spend money on your team. So what you truly value will be reflected in your actions. In other words, we can just look at your behavior, we can look at your expenditure, we can look at how you spend your time, how you invest your money, and we will be able to tell what you truly value in your life. Remember, what you value values you back. Now, here's a list of values that you may reflect and think about. Think of things like diligence, truthfulness, timeliness, faith. Those are values. Hard work, excellence, frugality, obedience, honesty, quality, loyalty, prayer. Those are values. And these values form you, they shape you. At the core, listen to me, my friends. At the core of your persona, you are your value. Let me put it this way. The bottom line of this matter is this. You are not separate from your values. You can't run away from your values. You can't distinguish or separate yourself from those things that you value. Meaning, you are your value. So if you're diligent, that's who you are. If you're hardworking, that's who you truly are. If you are loyal, that's who you truly are. On the other hand, if you are lazy, sluggish, slanderer, gossiper, laid back, that's who you are. You are your value. Now, let me pose another question here. What is your true worth in that sphere of influence or within your circles, what is your true worth? You see, your true worth in any given relationship is the difference between what you invest in that relationship and what you take out of it. Your true worth in any relationship is the difference between what you're willing to put in and what you're taking out. Let me rephrase that. Let me put it differently. Your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. You could say your true worth is the difference between what you give in value and what you take in payment. So in every relationship, you are either giving or taking. Now, in some relationships, there are people who are giving and giving and giving and giving, and they don't take as much. And then there are those on the opposite side of the spectrum. They don't give as much, but they take and take and take and take. So the person you are relating with, as they analyze your value, your importance in that relationship, they consider how much do you bring in and how much do you take. And the difference of the two is how much you are worth in that particular relationship. Can you imagine in a situation where you are taking more than you are bringing in? Then in that relationship, you have negative worth. Negative worth. You are a taker, a sucker. Yours is just to take. Yours is just to draw. Yours is just to receive and to benefit. Listen, the more you give in any relationship, the more you get. I may as well add that you attract the same amount of value that you give out. You attract the same amount of value that you give out. In other words, if you give a lot of respect, you receive the same measure of respect. If you give a lot of honor and diligence and commitment and truthfulness, you receive the same measure. Remember, you attract what you are giving. You also attract who you are. Why? Because you are your value. Let me try to demonstrate that for you. Suppose we gave you a job that is, let's say, $10 an hour. So you come and you check out the assignment and you say, I'll take it. $10 an hour, I'll do the assignment. But as you come in, you put in an effort, preparation, determination, attitude worth $1,000 an hour. As in, you just didn't do the job. You brought in excitement, you researched, you prepared, you gave it your very best. How much do you think we'll pay you? Just the $10? No. We may as well pay you for your attitude, diligence, and commitment. We may as well pay you $1,000. Why? Because you brought in an input worth $1,000. However, on the other hand, if we gave you a job worth $1,000 an hour and you brought in effort worth, $10, do you think we will really pay you $1,000? No, we will pay you based on your input. And your input was not $1,000 worth, it was $10 worth. You showed up late. You were not excited to be there. You didn't finish the assignment. You were tardy. You did the wrong job. We can't pay you $1,000 as we promised. We'll pay you what you're due. And what you're due is only $10. So you attract the same measure of value that you give. The more you give, the more you get. Again, the question is, what is your true worth? In other words, how much are you putting in compared to what you are taking out? Needless to say, you attract who you are. If you find that the people you are attracting are lazy people, gossipers, non-committed. It's not that you're surrounded by lazy people, gossipers, and non-committed people. You are simply attracting who you are. In other words, your values have shaped you in such a way that you're attracting those that buy into you, those that look like you, those that reflect your persona. So, what is your true value? Remember, what you value values you back. Let me use the scripture and ask, so where is your gaze? Where is your focus? That scripture said, look straight ahead. Fix your gaze and do not look to the side. In other words, find out these values, establish these values, and focus on them. Grow yourself in them. Be established in these values. They will value you back. Now, I would assume that you know we operate on a value system, meaning we get paid or rewarded to bring value to the marketplace. Nobody will pay you because, they just felt like paying you. Nobody will reward you because you demanded. In fact, you can't get rich by demand. You can't get rich by demanding to be rich. No. You are rewarded based on the value you place on the table. Remember, you can't give what you don't have. So what value do you bring? What value are you selling? What value are you giving in this organization or in this relationship? If I may go deeper and say, no one will pay you what you're worth. People will pay you what they think you deserve. Yes, nobody will pay you what you think you qualify for. People will pay or reward you based on what they think you deserve. So you have a responsibility to define your value and then tell us how much worth you are. In other words, people will buy you at the price tag you put on your forehead. You set the price for your services. You set the price for your product. You set the price for your brand, and then demand that they pay that price for your brand. Otherwise, people will not take you serious. People will buy you cheap. People will lower your level. Why? Because they always pay based on what they think you deserve. So you got to know, what's my value worth? What do I bring on the table? And keep focusing on values that improve your brand. I've said it before. Many people focus on their job than they focus on themselves. And eventually they end up selling themselves short. Because that job you are focusing so much on, eventually you will leave it. It's not yours. It's not for permanent. Invest on yourself. Invest in your values, character values, personal values, work values. They also call them work ethic. Invest in those and build your brand. Listen, so you need to know your value and then ask or demand of it. Don't make the obvious mistake that many people make. They undervalue themselves. They price themselves a little lower than they deserve. Listen, the more you want to have, the more you got to become. To have more, you got to become more. So don't wait for someone to give you a raise. Don't wait for someone to improve your value. No, you improve your value and become more valuable to the marketplace. Then demand for the appropriate price for your goods or your services or your brand. If you work hard on your job, you will make a living. But if you work hard on yourself, you will make a fortune. That's why you need to invest in establishing or building yourself in values that will push or propel your life even further. Now, it's impossible to define your value except you have a personal philosophy. Listen, each person's income is determined by their personal philosophy and not the economy. Many times we blame the economy. We blame the economy of the world, the global economy. We blame the economy of our nation. Listen, there are too many people that are lagging purely based on their personal philosophy. Personal philosophy determines a lot in your life. And somebody may ask, but what is personal philosophy? Personal philosophy is an internal guidance system that informs you of what you can or cannot do. Personal philosophy is a mechanism within you that is based on your value system, and it tells you what you can and what you cannot do. It tells you where you can go. It tells you where you can't go. It tells you what you can eat, what you cannot eat. It tells you who you can meet, who you cannot meet. It tells you where you can meet with who and where you can't meet with who. It's called a personal philosophy. You remember Joseph? Joseph was tempted by Potiphar at Potiphar's house. And the reason Joseph did not succumb to the temptation, it's not that Joseph was too old to be tempted. No, his body system, his health system was working well. But the only reason Joseph could not succumb to that temptation was this. Number one, he had the fear of the Lord. He had reverential fear. And number two, Joseph had a personal philosophy, a personal guidance system. He asked the question, how can I do this and sin against my God? The personal philosophy put brakes in his system that he couldn't yield, he couldn't give in. He had a personal philosophy. Your personal philosophy is what helps you to see danger ahead and helps you to make the right adjustments and recalibrate to avoid that danger. Your personal philosophy is what opens your eyes to see opportunities coming ahead. Remember, life is about minimizing risks and maximizing on opportunity. And a good personal philosophy will help you avoid potholes. It will help you avoid dangers. It will help you avoid temptations. It will help you choose right and make the right or correct decisions. A personal philosophy. Now, there are many people who've spent up to half their lives with no personal philosophy. Listen, you shouldn't plan to live the next 20 years, the next 30 years, or the remainder of your life without this internal guidance system, this personal philosophy that tells you what you can, what you can't do, what you can read, what you can't read, what you can watch, what you can't watch, where you can go, where you can't go. Now somebody will ask, where do I get that personal philosophy? Listen, your personal philosophy comes from things that you know, things that you've learned over the years. It also comes from other people's experiences that you've witnessed or you've heard of you or you've observed. And so you've drawn lessons or values that you have now adopted as your own personal. Now, I pray and hope that in this 2021 year, you will have a moment to sit and evaluate your own personal values, that you will re-examine yourself and come up with a personal philosophy, a guidance system, a statement that dictates what you can and what you can do, principles that you believe to the very core. This personal philosophy should encamp the three. Remember the tool I just gave you: your character values, your work ethic, your personal values. These values, these sets of values should help you define your personal philosophy. Let me conclude by giving you a specific example. We are told of Company A and Company B. Company A spends minimally in adverts. They spend zero or no dimes. They spend literally no money on adverts. Company B, on the other hand, spent over $2 billion a year on adverts. Company A allows you to copy their technology and use it whichever way you want. They are very generous. Company B, on the other hand, is very careful that they protect their copyrights. They protect their innovation so seriously. If you dare copy, they slap you with a court case. Company A gives you free upgrades. They are so generous. Every year they give you free upgrades. Company B, they charge you for any new upgrades they may do in the course of the year. Now, within a certain year, Company A grew by 52%. Yet Company B dropped or shrank by 0.58%. Wait a minute. Didn't Company A, they didn't advertise. They allowed people to copy their innovation. They gave free upgrades, yet they grew in value by 52%. Compared to Company B, which was stingy, which was restrictive, they spent $2 billion on adverts. They didn't allow people to copy their innovation. They charged for their upgrades, yet instead of growing, they shrank in value. What are we talking about? These two companies grew or failed to grow based purely on their philosophies, based purely on their values. You see, Company A, they are generous. Company A like free markets. They like to explore. They want everybody to put their hand in and try and work it out, and let's see the best product we can produce. Company B, on the other hand, they are very restrictive. They're competitive, yes, but they don't believe in the word of mouth. They would rather advertise and tell us what to buy. Company A believe in producing the best product and have the product speak for itself. Ladies and gentlemen, this example is borrowed from real life. You see, Company A is Tesla Motors, and Company B represent any other automobile in the US. Tesla has been growing faster simply based on their philosophy. They believe in word of mouth. Build a better product, let the product speak for itself. They believe, let's share this generosity, let's share what we know, and let's learn from one another. So if you want to borrow from their GPS system, you can borrow and use it whichever way you want. They give free upgrades. Compared to the other automobile companies in the US, they would rather invest $2 billion in adverts to tell us what to buy. They charge for upgrades every year, and yet the results speak for themselves. Company A, Tesla, grew, the rest, they shrank. What are we saying? What you value values you back. What Tesla values has valued them back. Ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you to narrow down on values that matter and give yourself into them. Develop yourself in such values. Grow your brand. Grow your character. Establish yourself on principles that are immovable. Eventually, those principles will pay you back. We've covered a lot today, so let me give you a summary. Number one, we've said what you focuses on focuses back on you. What you value values you back. We've also said that the first step is to define your value. So wrestle with the question of what value do you bring to the table? Or what's your value proposal? What problem do you come to solve? What needs do you come to meet? And for you to define your value, you need to develop a solid personal philosophy. That is a guiding system that will tell you what you can or cannot do for the rest of your life. As you do that, I believe you will become stronger in character. Remember to keep self-evaluating and keep building on yourself based on the three base approach I gave you: character values, work ethic values, and 3, personal values. I believe as you do these, you will grow, you will increase, you'll multiply, and produce results that matter. May the Lord bless you, and thank you. I look forward to seeing you in our next class. Please subscribe, Command Results on YouTube, and we'll be glad to hear your comments down here below. Thank you, and God bless.